Welcome to Talking Halos. This is Derek Ciapala, my co-host, my partners in crime, Nate Green and Jared Timms, and we are live for our draft, our pre-draft podcast, trying to get knee deep into the MLB draft for 2024. Oh, gentlemen, I know this is your Super Bowl, Jared. This is the day for you. Ready?
It's a big couple of days between this and international signing period. Yeah, this is a big couple of days for sure. I'm excited.
Nate?
Yeah, this will be fun.
A little more
That was your
enthusiasm.
level.
I
A little
mean,
more enthusiasm.
I'm excited, but you just know how things roll with the Angels. So like, I'm excited to see how the draft plays out. I don't know how this is gonna play out for everyone else.
All right, well, okay. Let's just roll down this. Let's just make sure we're thinking the same way. How do you think this will play out according to how things have been, Nate?
I think they try and go under slot, which will be really, really frustrating for me. Which, yeah, I think there's just a top 8, maybe a top 10 in this draft, and then it kind of is a bunch of coin flips from there on for the rest of this thing. And I don't know. I just see the Angels doing something like that, taking a coin flip at 8 and then hoping that somebody's there in the second and it just not working out the way that the Angels hope. I hope I'm wrong because that would be miserable if that's the way it went.
Jared?
I I'm at the same, for those who listened last podcast, I'm at the same exact point as I was last time. There's only one player the Angels are for sure not going to get, and that's Travis Bazzana. Anybody else, there's a chance they're there for him. Just depends on what happens with picks, probably 2 through 7. Because I mean, it just seems like the Guardians are going to end up taking Bazzana. It's a safe pick. He's the closest thing to a for sure major leaguer that there is in this draft. Obviously, anything can happen, but yeah, I mean, man, I do not know, if if the Angels think that they can underslot somebody. I don't think it's a there's two ways they can go with an underslot, and I don't think going like the Christian Moore, James Tibbs route of an underslot is really going to be a huge difference maker of an underslot. I know they really like Christian Moore, so it wouldn't surprise me if they just ended up picking Christian Moore. Or they go a little bit more of an underslot. I know they like the outfielder out of Oklahoma State, Carson Bange, I think is how you say his last name. They like the outfielder out of Kentucky, Ryan Walderschmidt. They like the catcher out of Sam Houston, Walker Jenkin, and of course they like Kalen Culpepper a lot. But I don't think that they're gonna underslot that much. If he's there in the second, I think Kalen Culpepper makes a lot of sense. And if they do underslot, it would be because they have a deal with somebody like Kalen Culpepper in the second round. So I don't know. Do they have a deal in place right now? I don't know. Either. There's been a lot of talk about Braden Montgomery being in Southern California right now and having a private workout at Angel Stadium. They do that with a lot of players. So yeah, there's definitely. I mean, you break this draft down into some different groups, right? You got the top 4 guys, which offensively is Bazzana, Condon, Coglianone, and Weatherholt. Then you probably have the 2 top pitchers in this draft, which is Hagen Smith and Chase Burns. After that, you could probably go to the high school group, in a sense, which is Connor Griffin and Bryce Rayner. And then you got 2 other guys and Braden Montgomery and Nick Kurtz. You kind of just group all those guys together in a sense, and then after that, it kind of goes downhill a little bit. Savage, Tibbs, Christian Moore, Cam Smith, and then you just never know from there. So yeah, it still has to do with what the Guardians do at 1. If they total underslot and think they're going to get Connor Griffin in the second or something like that. It also has a lot to do with what with what the Diamondbacks have to do in the second round too. They have a lot of money to spend. The name of the game here in the draft is money. And I know I just talked a whole bunch there. So
Clarifying question, though, because this is many of our listeners probably think of the NFL draft, the NBA draft. How is the MLB draft different? You mentioned someone making a deal for the second round. Can you clarify a bit what's different here when you're talking about people making deals now before a pick's even made?
Yeah, it's tough to make a deal in the second round. I'll say that. Especially this year. I mean, having conversations about like the Guardians underslotting in the first to make a deal in the second. Well, it's tough to do that this year if you're the Guardians because the Diamondbacks are a pick ahead of them in the second round and have about the same amount of money as the Guardians do, maybe a little bit less, but they can do a very similar thing that the Guardians are doing with 3 picks in the first 2 rounds, and they have a lot of money to spend there too. So deal wise, under the table deals in a sense. Like you met with a player, you agree, we're gonna pick you at this spot, and basically, if anybody calls, you tell them that I'm not signing with you, type of thing. That's basically what happens in these so-called deals. Now, sometimes these deals don't fall through. A lot of times it's a deal that starts with like the first pick, second pick, third pick. It's like, well, will you take this amount of money? Will you take this amount of money? Will you take this amount of money? And it just kind of goes from there. And that's honestly kind of the first conversation that is had is, how much money are you looking for, bonus pool wise? So, I mean, it's, that's what it has to do with is money at the end of the day. And how can you distribute your money well enough to have the best draft possible. And that's why you see in day 2 in the second in picks like 7, 8, 9, and 10, a lot of seniors, because that's where you can save a good chunk of money by signing guys for under 100, was it 110, $125,000. Doesn't count towards the slot, I think, or only 125. Only 125 will count towards the slot. So you can start saving a lot of money later on to use at the beginning of the draft. And I know a lot of people always want to pick the best guy available, and I'm there I'm with that. There's a time place for that, but it also has to do with money. So like if the Angels got to a spot and Chase Burns was there or Charlie Condon was there, the phone call that gets made is, hey, what do you want? What are you going to take? Like, do the Angels have to overslot Charlie Condon or Chase Burns with their 8th overall pick and give them the Angels pick is in that $6 million range, I think, just under $6 million. Would the Angels have to give a guy like Condon or Burns $7 million? So it comes down to money, and that is one of the big reasons why Charlie Condon, I've been saying this for a while, might be there at 8 for the Angels because of the money. And there's a lot of other things that have gone on in the background, but because of the money, it continues to be that thing. So just remember tomorrow, money's the name of the game. And so same thing in the second round. And you'll start or in the second round on day 2 and even into day 3, you start hearing money is the name of the game and how much money is left, because the Angels have picked guys, Caden Dana, Chase Silseth. They've overslotted quite a few guys on day 3. And giving guys a lot of money. They actually hold the record for most highest bonus given in the 11th round. That went to Caden Dana a couple years ago. I think he got $1.1 million or something like that. So yeah, this is a fun time. A lot of things coming into play here.
But
Jared,
he
you
was worth it, right? Caden Dana, of course.
So okay, this is the way you got to think about this, right? You gave him $1.1 million, which is second round money. So you basically took a second round pick in the 11th round. Is Caden Dana worth a second round pick? He's a top 100 prospect and playing the futures game today. So I like the way he's looked so far. The Angels have done a good job of him.
Nate.
Jared, it's Colorado, not Arizona, correct? That has the money that could compete with Cleveland.
Arizona does.
No,
If you go,
it's not Arizona.
Yes, it is. They have 3 picks. They have 4 picks in the top,
the most money in this draft is the Guardians and the Rockies. The Reds have the third. Arizona.
Watch out for Arizona in that second. I'm saying watch out in
Arizona's at 12.6 mil on their pool for their entire draft.
Yeah, that's when. Well, second round is when you have to watch out for Arizona because they pick right in front of the Guardians, and if the Guardians are going to try to cut a deal,
sure it's Arizona, the team went to the World Series last year.
Yes, they have. If you go look at how many picks they have a bunch of picks, and it's really weird. I don't know how they got that many picks, but they got a bunch of picks.
I know Colorado has this like almost the same amount of money as Cleveland. The Angels value is 6.5 in that first round, so decent amount of money to spend in the first round.
So good example, like that's the call that gets made is if Burns or Condon or somebody like that's there that falls It's like, hey, Chase Burns, will you take 6.5? Well, we wanted 8. It's like, okay, well, we'll give you 7, and they have to overslot Chase Burns in the first or something like that. Like, that's something that definitely could happen. And again, money plays a huge factor in this draft. Huge factor.
Okay, so last show we talked about best player available. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, yes, I do. I mean, depends who's there, right? Like if the draft goes in order of best available, hypothetically and by MLB pipeline standards, the number 8 guy there is Braden Montgomery. And that if that's the best guy that's available for the Angels per se, then yeah, that's probably the route that I'm going. Now for me, I mean, a guy like Hagen Smith falling or something like that worries me. That's the only guy in this draft that worries me is really Hagen Smith. I think that there's a lot of injury risk there. He's had a very good year, but the more and more I watch him, it's like, ooh, like that's a lot of upper body arm action, which leads to injuries, and you never want to see something like that. So I think
And he's already won TJ deep.
exactly. I think that somebody, and this is going to sound extremely stupid, but I think that there will be somebody there for them. There's going to be somebody there that somebody likes, Weather Holt, so Montgomery, Kurtz, there's going to be somebody there that it's like, ooh, that's the guy right there. It's just if the Angels are going to take that guy. I mean, back in I think it was 2020, the Bachman draft, or 2021, the Bachman draft. Khalil Watson was there. That was the number 1 guy on my board, and I was like, please take Khalil Watson. Please take Khalil Watson.
Mm-hmm.
And they go Sam Bachman, and now we know the rest is history. And but yeah, I think that there's going to be somebody there that is going to be very intriguing, and it's going to be hard to pass on them unless they're going to go underslot. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. And I haven't thrown this disclaimer out there, but don't be looking into quick moving guys. Like, there's a chance the Angels take a high schooler. They really like Bryce Rainier.
So international as well this week so how does that play into the draft?
Internationally, are you talking about like who they can draft?
International signing, so on and so forth. How does that affect it overall as in your draft strategy?
Internationally, it shouldn't too much. Other than if for some reason a team goes over the slot value that they are allotted, not slot value, but money value they're allotted this year, I believe they lose international money. Nate, I know you're looking that up. I think they lose some type of international money.
Yes.
But that's an interesting strategy that gets brought up. What if you went over the slot value and just picked everybody who's possibly available, and that's the best available at each round? So it could be like high schoolers that think they're going to sign or something like that, and you just go and pick those guys like, and give them whatever money they want, and money becomes nothing in the draft type of thing. You do lose picks, you do lose things, but it's an interesting thought, and I don't know if anybody's ever going to do it, but it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you would lose picks for next year plus international money. And it would be like high value picks. You would lose like round 1 and round 2.
Yep.
It would push you back about, I think if I remember correctly, it pushes you back about 20 spots in your draft or so. So if the Angels, it's obviously not a spot the Angels would do. Looking at their record, they're probably going to end up in that top 7, 8 picks again next year. And you don't want to be borderline one of the worst teams in baseball and then be picking in the second round because you go all in this year on a draft that's not like loaded. Like, this draft is good, but it's not loaded like we've seen in years past.
Jared, what's your strategy if you're picking this this year? Where are you going with?
I hope that Chase Burns is there. That's the guy for me. I like Chase Burns a lot. Like, if you're looking for somebody who's the closest player to Paul Skeens, that's probably it this year, right? Like, there isn't a Paul Skeens in this draft. There really isn't. And next year we're going to be talking about a draft and we're going to be like, there's probably not a Travis Bazana who's going to be that type of guy. But if Chase Burns is there, I would give Chase Burns what he wants. If it's 7 million, 7.5, like that's the route that I'd go, because I think that he changes the complexion of your rotation. I think he changes the complexion of your organization and rotation as well. I really do. Chase Burns is kind of that guy for me. I don't know if he's there for the Angels. That's the thing. I think that he probably goes pick number 2, pick number 3. And if he doesn't go pick 2 or 3, then you start looking at like if he's going to be there. Connor Griffin's another guy. I mean, prep kid out of Mississippi. Really like him a lot. One of the best prep player in this draft, and I don't even think it's close. He has a chance to change the complexion of your organization if you develop him correctly, and the Angels haven't done a great job of development. So that's one thing that does worry you a little bit about picking a prep player. And then there has been word of JJ Weatherholt being there at 8 for the Angels. That's a guy that definitely, again, will contribute to the major league, will contribute to your major league team, is probably a starting second baseman. And with the way the Angels have moved guys, will probably contend for a starting second base job next year. And Neto and Weatherholt up the middle is kind of a lot of fun there. So yeah, I think between those 3 guys, I think that's the route, unless that 5% chance that Charlie Condon's there or Jack Cogliano's there, the guys that, like Chase Burns, kind of change the outlook of your organization. I'm not underslotting in this draft. I really am not, unless you somehow find a way to get Cam Caminetti in the second round because you underslotted so much, and you pull off a crazy, Ryan Waldschmidt and Cam Caminetti, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you pick 2 guys that are all of a sudden close to being top 100 prospects, and this draft looks really, really good. So I'm not underslotting. I'm picking best available.
Yeah, you have to pull off what the Cubs did a couple years ago when they took Cade Horton in the first and Jackson Ferris in the second. Both those guys were top 30 picks in that draft, and they got one in the first, one in the second. I think they took Horton in the first, and he was supposed to be closer to the second. They took Ferris in the second. He was probably a top 10 pick in that draft, was the projection. But if Cagliano's there, are you letting him 2-way?
No, because I project him as a reliever. And he's more valuable as a first baseman, or DH or an outfielder than he is a reliever. I mean, if you want to ask the Bryce Rainier question too, Bryce Rainier's, I project him more as a pitcher rather than a hitter. So the pick could be Bryce Rainier tomorrow, and that wouldn't surprise me. And I just don't know what he is at the next level. He is an incredibly gifted player that I've seen play since he was 8-9 years old, because my brother played against him forever. And he is absolutely gifted beyond belief, and he was gifted then. But I don't know what he is at the next level. I really don't. It'll be really interesting to see what he is. So
I just wish we would have seen more game power out of him. Like the BP power, like he's got all the tools to be very, very good, but we haven't seen the game power out of him. We're like, oh man, this dude hit 10 homers in high school, and his high school field's not exactly like huge, and he's playing a good league and things like that. But 4 homers his senior year, you're looking for something a little bit more than that for game power wise, for a guy who's going to be a Corey Seager is the comp. I know you're not a huge comp guy, but that's his comp, which is more probably about his size and being able to play shortstop rather than his overall hitting ability.
The thing that worries me, not worries me, but like worries me the most with Bryce Rainier is you look at what Gavin Grohavic's doing at Texas A&M, one of the freshmen of the year, and it's like, damn, that would have been nice in the second round for whatever, $1.52 million, whatever his value was. And all of a sudden now Gavin Grohavic's probably a top 10 pick in 2026, I think, 2025. No, 2 years from now, 2026. So 2025, I don't know, whenever he gets drafted, he's a top 10 pick. So yeah, you never know, like if the Angel, like what happens if Bryce Rainier goes to college? What is he? He's probably a monster and becomes the number 1 overall pick. And we're talking about that down the road. Like, damn, the Angels had a chance to take Bryce Rainier in the first round and skipped on him because he was going to college, or Connor Griffin or somebody like that. So you can play the what if game all day. You know, what if the Angels didn't draft Mike Trout?
All right. Anything else? Any little final thoughts on this draft?
The Angels have a second round pick for the first time in forever. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
More money to be given out, which is fun. And this draft is going to completely change the top 30 prospects. I'm probably going to put in 8 guys into my top 30 list. The top 30 prospect list is going to be a completely different list in 72 hours or whatever, however many days, in the next 5 days. It'll probably be a completely different prospect list. And I'm extremely excited for that, or at least I hope it is. We'll see.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is next episode, you're going to be able to present a whole new top 30 for the listeners.
I'll have a good idea. I'll have a very good idea. I promise you that. I don't know. There will be nobody in the Angels org that's going to want to talk after this, because they've been in meetings for the past 8 weeks about this draft. So they're going to take some time off, but there will be a pretty good idea. And it wouldn't surprise me that come tomorrow we're talking about Chase Burns being the #1 prospect in the Angels organization, or somebody like that, right? Like you might be able to slot this pick as the number one prospect in the Angels organization. I mean, Caden Dana looks really good, but Caden Dana, Chase Burns, Charlie Condon, I don't know. It'll be very interesting. I'm excited. This is a fun time of the year, especially for teams that are not playing very well. So.
Nate, you had something to say? Yeah, you're just about to speak up.
Well, and they've said, some scouts say that Burns is better than Skeens, and you've seen what Skeens has done to Pittsburgh. It's been unbelievable. Burns is #2 on my board, right behind Bazana. I think that he, like you said, he brings a difference maker to an org. I think if he's there, you got to take him. If a Wake Forest guy drops, and that would be Kurtz or Burns, I think that's who you got to take. And I don't care what position Kurtz plays. I don't care what position Caglione plays. Like, you've got to take the best player available. Like, this org is starving for talent. I don't care if he plays first base. If the dude rakes, we need guys who rake.
Well, you know who's another Wake Forest guy that fell during this year that I'd take in the second, maybe third round, is Josh Hartle. He was the top arm. He was supposed to be a better arm than Chase Burns, a better pitcher than Chase Burns this year, and Pipeline has him ranked it at number 70 right now. So if there's a way the Angels can take somebody like that, absolutely. And then keep an eye out for the Angels looking at the Texas A&M route as well for pitching. That could happen second, third. Probably day 2 though. You see that happen. So. A lot of fun, man. This is a fun time of the year, especially, like I said, for a team that isn't playing very well. There's a lot to talk about, and yeah, it'll be good.
All right, folks. What that means is you got to listen to the next show so you can see where everything landed. Follow us on Twitter or X at Talking Halos. Follow Jared at Jared_Tims. Right? I'm losing myself today.
Yep, Jared_Tims.
Nate Green 34. Me and DC Ciapala. Till next time, we are out of here. Draft day's upon us.